Okay, here we are, episode 2, finally getting back into it. And today's episode is I'm not sure about what because I don't have it up in front of me. 1 second. Anyway, share something that you did this week. A feeling, something you did physically, health related, whatever it relates to, where you feel like you're getting better or doing better in your life. Okay, so on today's episode, we produce enough food, so why are people starving? There's 1,000 different ways we could get better. There's 1,000 things we could do. But why are we paying just to eat? Why are people looked down on for getting food stamps? Why are people mean and, they stick their nose up at people who are getting food stamps and assistance when food is just a basic necessity for all people? I've really been thinking about this lately. Just, rolling it over in my mind and that kind of stuff. Really, what even brought the question about and what made me start thinking about this is if you've ever worked if you've ever been in the workforce ever, you've probably worked a fast food job and you've probably been told not to eat a handful of chicken nuggets or something like that because that costs the company money, and then you've watched them throw pails, literally pails, like, 3 foot by like a foot wide of chicken platters in the floor, and like not in the floor, into the dumpster. These kind of things, they matter. So the reality of the situation is that plenty of food exists. There's more than enough. But in the, best country in the world, opinion, of course, people go hungry every day. Children, mothers, fathers, literally every single day. And the amount of food that gets wasted, the amount of money they're charging you to eat food and stuff is ridiculous. And I don't think that this is a people issue, because I don't think if farmers could survive and actually feed their own families off of the money they make, I don't think they would charge people, $40 for like 5 pounds of ground beef or something like that. Or like half a pound, or, whatever the regular size ground beef is in the store. I don't know. I think maybe, of course, with this, discussion comes the actual facts, why we pay, the costs of, the farming and the transport, business. And does it really come down to, should people be charged for the cost of being alive? I don't know. Should it be like a profit thing, or should it be a right? It just feels wrong. I'll be talking to my friends or to my wife, and things like this come up continuously, and there's no way we're the only people who feel like this. Now, abundance versus starvation. How can, both exist in a world where if everybody was working together, we could solve world hunger easily? It wouldn't even be a challenge. It could be done easily. But instead, we're doing other things and blah, 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 blah. Let's not go into the weeds on that. We'll save that for another episode. All right, so now the questions, the stuff, like what could we actually do? What Imagine your world, your kids, your brothers or sisters, your coworkers, whoever the most important people are to you in this life. Imagine those people waking up and never having to worry about where they're going to get food from. Imagine single mothers knowing that their kids are going to eat no matter what. Imagine the hardworking family, the mother and the father, or the single father, who are doing everything they can just to keep the lights on and keep babies fed. Or hell, maybe you ain't got no babies and you're keeping yourself fed and you're eating ramen noodles because you got student debt and blah, 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 blah. What would it actually look like? And what could we achieve when you're not worried about what you're eating? And is this even possible? I don't mean to muse, but we are on Let's Get Better, so what are we really talking about? Aren't we talking about getting better? And of course, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying that the rich are keeping all the food or that the poor just ain't getting opportunities. I'm not saying anything like that. But I am saying that, maybe we should be asking the question, what are we doing? At this point, when you know that we have such an abundance, what are we actually doing? And I guess it feels wrong because I know we can do better. And I'm really hoping that we can do better. So, I don't know. I think it's just a question to start asking and to think about. But I don't know. In my own life and these kind of things, I'm really trying to work on my creative energy and output, actually finishing projects and putting them out. That's a little personal getting better that I'm doing in my life. If you would, I would much appreciate it if you'd like, comment, and subscribe, and whatever you're listening on, Spotify, Apple, I don't know, the 100,000 other ones. Let's see if we can get better together.